गणानां त्वा घनपतिगं हवामहे कविं कवीनां मुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पदान शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सेदसादनं प्रणो देवे सरस्वती वाजिनेवदे दीनामवित्रयवदो गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम। ओम शांति शांति शांतिः। ओम साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ओम जयन्ते मंगलकाले भद्रकाले कपालिनी दुर्गा क्षमा शिवदात्रे स्वाहा स्वदा नमोस्तुते। ओम शांति शांति शांतिः। Sairam Lin, Sairam from Malaysia.
Sairam Sharma, Sairam from New Zealand. Thank you to our beloved Bhagwan for this opportunity to share a very touching story to our listeners who we welcome. Loving Sairam to all. Our title tonight is A Fork in the Potato. Yes, you heard that right. And this story took place in the ashram Prashanti Nilayam in the year 2009. My husband and I had been making many trips to see Swami, taking groups of devotees from New Zealand with us. And in this particular year, we decided to go on our own, just for a chance to stay in our rooms, meditate, think of Swami, and obey all of the rules which we knew pleased him, that Mata Betty had drilled into us. She used to say, "These are not my rules, they are Swami's rules." And that involved keeping silent, studying his teachings, going to darshan, going to bhajans, and not mingling or socializing in the ashram. In fact, it was like being a monk or a nun in many ways, but we welcomed this opportunity. And then towards the end of the trip, it was getting time for us to go home. And the day before we were meant to fly to Chennai, the Indian pilots again went on strike. And this happened quite a lot in those days. The pilots in Bangalore went on strike in solidarity with the pilots in New Delhi, and the reason was the pilots in New Delhi did not like the food in their staff canteen. This, we couldn't figure out why. This would be a reason for everyone in the country to strike, but whatever the reason was, it meant that we now had to book a taxi to drive us from Prashanti to Chennai. This is quite a long journey, takes a full day. Unfortunately, that day, my husband started feeling unwell. And by dinner time, he was almost delirious with fever. He could not understand what I was saying to him. He was coughing and had diarrhea, I think, and vomiting. He was in a very bad state. And of course, sometimes in India, these things can hit you very quickly. It doesn't matter where you are. It can usually be something from food, the heat, you never know. We had been pretty good up until this point, but I could see right away that he was not going to be able to travel the next day. And I was panicking because all the tickets were ready from Chennai to fly to New Zealand, and then also I had booked the taxi. Not knowing what else to do, I ran down to the Western Canteen. By now it was 7:30 at night, and I looked around hoping to find someone who could help me, because as far as I knew, there wasn't really anything available that I could do. I didn't have any medicines on me, and to my surprise, I saw a dear friend of mine who was a nurse at Swami's General Hospital. Her name was Joan Davies, and she was a very elderly lady by this time, very hunched over. She always wore a white sari, white bun. She was quite well known in the ashram. She was always seated in a very VIP spot, but she was the most humble, loving, caring person I had ever met. and Swami had specifically appointed her to serve the patients in the hospital who had no one to come and look after them, really long-term cases, and she cared for them with so much love, like a mother. I saw her and I blurted out my problem. I said, Joan, my husband is so ill, he's taken ill. What to do? We have to travel tomorrow. She was eating a potato. She was in the Western Canteen. And without a word, she suddenly jumped up, stuck her fork in the potato, and rushed off at top speed. I have never seen an elderly lady in her 80s move so fast. She vanished. And I stood there looking at this fork in the potato, thinking, my God, she won't even finish her dinner. I have interrupted her meal. Now what? And, she came back within a very short time, grabbed my hand. She said, I have the medicine. Let's go see your husband. And we went up to the room, and she administered the dosage of some medicines. She said, he should be all right by morning. Just stay with him and come and get me if you need any more assistance. I couldn't get this image out of my mind of the fork in the potato. I thought, this is service. She never even questioned me. She simply took off at top speed, just like a Hanuman would do. And the next morning, my husband was weak, but he had recovered himself enough that we could get him into the taxi and get him to the our hotel in Chennai, where he was made comfortable, and I could have access to a doctor if was needed. But by then he was quite well recovered enough to travel. Like I said, he was weak, but the fever was gone. And whatever medicine she had applied, especially with her loving touch, putting her hand on his forehead, stroking him, saying, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, worked absolute miracles. Now, not long after that, I remembered I had been talking, with Mata Betty years earlier about service, and she used to say, always serve wherever you are. Seek the chance to help others. Never give up the opportunity to use your skills and enthusiasm for alleviating sorrow, pain, and distress. And Ma was like that. She would jump up at a second's notice to help in whichever way she could. Then when I got home, I came across the teachings of Swami, where he described 4 kinds of devotees. He said, when it comes to service, there are 4 kinds of devotees. First, there is the one who sees a service opportunity but does nothing about it. They are too busy. They think, I don't have the wherewithal to do this. I can't stop. I don't have time. Switched off, in other words. Second kind is the devotee who sees an opportunity but cannot physically help, cannot do anything. Mata Betty said, in this case, you can say, pray to Swami. Swami, help them, Sai Ram Swami. So this could be like when you're passing an accident, or it is someone who's far away from you, someone unknown to you. It could be people dying in another part of the world, or at risk of some climate disaster, anything like this. You will see things like this all the time. If you are aware of it, it could be an insect that is suffering in a cup of water. It can be an animal who is hurt. It can be a plant that is being trampled on. It can be anything. Mata said 24 hours a day you are being offered endless opportunities for service. So back to Swami's teaching. The third kind of devotee who sees a service opportunity, but he cannot decide, is this my mind telling me not to do something, or is it Swami? And the mind is going back and forth, tick-tock, tick-tock. Should I, shouldn't I, would I, could I, couldn't I? Swami said this is the mind interfering with your opportunity to do service. Fourth kind is the devotee who sees an opportunity and jumps to his feet like Lord Hanuman. He can't wait to do the service. And Swami said, this is the devotee who is most dear to me. Now, sometimes we will be trying to do a service, and it is what I call the thwarted attempt, when you have done all you can and you still have not been able to complete the service or do it according to what you feel would be Swami's satisfaction. Mata Betty said, in this when this happens, you do what you can within your sphere, within what you are capable of doing. Don't burn yourself out. Don't beat yourself up because you weren't able to do it as well as you would have liked. Just do your best and give Swami the rest. And Swami said, in these situations, when you can't decide, should I, shouldn't I? He said, one has to transcend the lower mind, this lower part of our intellect, to understand. If your thoughts and your activities in your mind are full of love, peace can be attained. So if you're at peace within yourself, there's no question of doing service. It's a question of, I'm at peace with myself. Let me spread that peace. Let me carry that peace wherever I go. And this is what you are doing when you are doing service. It is a question of inner stability, of knowing that you are one with Swami all the time. I think that Mata, for me, Mata Betty, was the change, the catalyst for me to get outside of my selfish self and think about how can I help. I did courses in first aid. I took as many opportunities as I could to look around me wherever I was traveling, and sure enough, opportunities for service would originate almost automatically. At one stage, I was taking care of an autistic boy. I was what they call a family health support member. I had trained with Healthcare New Zealand, and they had assigned me to help with this autistic boy who was not doing well in school. And I visited the home with the parents, or one of the parent always near, with this little boy. He was a very difficult case. He was very unmanageable. He would often just fall to the floor and scream. And then he would rush off and play the piano, or then he would rush to me and want to draw pictures. And so it was quite a stressful job. And one day I was on a bus coming home asking Swami, I don't know if I can do this anymore. What can I do? I'm really conflicted about this. And I suddenly heard the laughter of a child bubbling. I looked up, and across from me was a little boy of about 3 years old. He was of lovely golden brown skin with a big curly afro. He was wearing an orange sweatshirt and blue trousers, and on the front of his sweatshirt were the words, "I'm the boss." And this little boy held his hands up in double blessing. I couldn't believe my eyes. I took out my camera and captured a sequence of this little boy raising his hands in blessing with "I'm the boss" written on his shirt. What an answer to my query. I no longer had any doubts about what to do, and I carried on working with the little fellow for 4 more years. Om Shri Sai Ram.
Om Sri Sai Ram. Om Tasmat Karunya Bhavena Raksha Raksha Saishwara. Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Saishwara Arpanamastu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.